What is up, ninjas? My name is Semrol, and I had a very busy day today. One word, termite, so I have to overlook some people doing work on my house. But I still wanted to get a video out for you guys today on how to make Morten style melodies. Now, I had a student ask me about this, over the weekend, and there's some couple of tips I can give you guys in order to get that vibe. And today we're going to be talking all about that. Now, I am currently working on a Future Rave pack, which will hopefully come out by this Friday, guys, which is going to contain a certain sound set. We're going to call it Future Rave Revolution, maybe just Future Rave if we don't get sued. And it's going to have about 105 sounds so far, but I am looking to add a bit more into it, as well as a sample pack with drum loops, etc., as well as construction kits, which we're going to be using one of them just to kind of lay down a beat and drop some melodies on top of it as we play them out, just so that we know that they kind of fit the style. Now, if you guys want to check out this pack or any of my sound design work, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. That's the best way that you can support me. And with that being said, let's get straight into this. Now, when it comes to making Morten style melodies, there's a couple of characteristics I can tell you right out of the get-go that they have. One, the rhythms, very fast-paced rhythms. That's how you create the energy. There's also going to be swingy vibes, so a lot of times you don't want to land the melody on the beat. You want it to have a very swingy vibe, which we're going to talk about as well in this video. And finally, Trance Gallops. They're a huge fan of Trance Gallops, and that's what I call them. I don't know what's the actual musical theory term, but a Trance Gallop is going to be, let's say we're in the G sharp minor scale. Okay, you're going to see that a lot in their music, and they do really good work with that. But I call them Trance Gallops because this is something I saw a lot in trance when I was making it back in 2010, 2012, big room trance, etc. But again, that's what a lot of the melodies are going to have. Now, the first melody we're going to talk about, guys, is going to contain some of the notes that if you make jihaz in big room, they're the babies. They're the ones you really like. You're like, oh, these two are real nice. And that is going to be your tonic, which is usually going to be the name of the scale you're in, and up a semitone from it. Now, if we have that playing, but again, we add those trance gallops, you can create a lot of really cool melodies just with these two notes. And I'll show you guys some examples here. All right, and obviously one of their popular songs, which is in G minor, utilizes this very well. It's going to be three notes, which is going to be the tonic, the note up a semitone, which I don't know what to call, and the subtonic, which is going to be the F in G minor. So if I were to play that melody just like... you can see how boring it sounds. So those gallops are creating that vibe that they have. It's super important to have, guys. But again, those two notes, we can make a lot of badass melodies with that, okay? So let's make a melody utilizing that. Now, again, just because you have those two notes doesn't mean you can't go anywhere else around, but I do encourage you to obviously play around and go for what sounds good. Don't try and force it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a trance gallop on the one, and then we're going to jump up to a note. Now, I think I'm going to work on the melody first, and from there, jam it out. So just... now, if the rhythm sounds catchy, the melody will sound catchy as long as you do the right work. Okay, so you can kind of see as we're working on it, you can feel that it sounds a little weird in certain spots. So that should be your guide. You're producers, so you know what, when you hear music, you've always wanted to kind of change stuff in it. Same thing here. You kind of get inspired and you feed off the rhythm. Okay, so that one sounds pretty cool. So we're going to work with that. Now, knowing what we know about Trance Gallops, we can now shift some up an octave. And we can mess up. Okay, so again, this works. If you can play on the MIDI keyboard, which I hugely encourage, it's way better. But when we're doing it like this, again, this is easier for the guys drawing in the melody notes, which I always encourage people to at least learn to play the piano with one hand. You can do a lot of magical things with two fingers. Imagine what you can do with your whole hand. I'm going to double time here. Okay, and then let's see what we can do. So now we just, again, I'm kind of going to keep it just to 2 notes, maybe 3. I'm going to shift maybe down an octave. No, you can't hear it. Let's. Yeah, so that sounds pretty cool. Again, you want to mess around with it till you kind of get what you like. And then we can also elongate more of the lower notes being played, so you can kind of have like a counter melody. So that way, the melody is very dynamic. It's jumping all over the place, but it gives such a good kind of vibe, like you can like jumping up on it. Okay, so that's gonna be my melody written in. Now let me make one actually playing on a MIDI keyboard, as I like to. That's the way I like to work a little better. So we'll try something out. Now, the next tip that I have for you guys is to make melodies with a symmetry that just goes up. And what that means is melodies that just work their way up the scale. Now, you can make this sound creative in any way, again, with rhythm and with note selection and how you work your way up the scale. But one of the melodies that Morten has, which utilizes this very well, is called Kill Me Slowly, I believe, which is going to sound like this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to draw a melody out that works its way up the scale and see how it sounds like. So we're going to be, again, in G sharp for this, and let's just play around. And again, just maybe do some Trance Gallops. And that's going to sound like that. Maybe we can pick better notes. Okay, so again, you can kind of see how epic that sounds like, and it's a great tip. The symmetry of a melody, again, it just means if it's going up, if it's going up and down, or if it's just coming from up to down, etc. But these kind of melodies work vice versa. You can also make one that comes down, which again, that's another song that he has as well. And these sound very, again, very, very epic. Here, if we wanted to, we could add a variation, but I'll probably have that playing with 2 bars, and then at the end we can add this variation where we use the dominant note or the dominant scale degree, and then maybe a subdominant, so we go even higher, or we could do the opposite of that. Or we could go like this. So again, there are various ways to work your way up the scale or down the scale. It's just the way that you decide to do it, and of course the rhythm and the sound. Now the next melody we're going to look at, I'm not going to play on the keyboard just because it's really hard to get the rolling melody, as I like to call it, just because we're going to have something that sounds like this. And essentially what we're going to do, and let me get rid of the damn reverb on it, is we're going to have Trance Gallops on this. So we're going to have a rolling bass going all the way through in a way, and then we're just going to do the up. So you're going to make a melody like sorts. And again, different combinations you can do. You can do whatever you want, but the rolling melody is going to sound like... And again, you can kind of deduct, start to subtract. Okay, to kind of give it a really cool rhythm. Okay, from there we can also just get more melodic with it. So we could do... again, or we can work our way up the scale. So probably like something like this. Yep. Again, it has definitely a mind of its own, and I think this kind of instrumental that we have probably won't work that good with these kind of melodies. You're gonna have to have more of a big room kick or big room sub, which we're gonna talk about in another video on how to make those. So we're gonna hear it solo. So we can do a lot of really cool stuff. Now, the cool thing about this melody is we can kind of harmonize it. So if we go here, we can go down to maybe E. And then that will give us a different vibe there. From there. But the cool thing about this is that if you just nail it all on one, again, you don't have to harmonize. You create a lot of tension because the notes are moving around, but it still works really well. Okay, so that's going to be the rolling melody. And finally, guys, the last melody I'm going to be talking about, because I have to go to sleep and still edit this video for you guys, is going to be the swingy, swaggish melody. Now, for this example, this is going to be based, obviously, on Morten's Polar, which is probably his first Future Rave song, which is going to sound like this. It's going to be in the same key that we're in, which is G sharp minor. And it utilizes the Trance Gallop, the badass notes, and it has a symmetry working downwards, not working upwards. So it's the other one we talked about, and it's going to sound like this. Check it out. Okay, so it's going to utilize the ballast note and work its way down the scale. Okay, so when going here, we can make a similar melody. We'll just hit the G sharp and try and make it swingy. Again, that's the key. So I'm going to try and avoid landing too much on beat. And what that means is, like, instead of doing like maybe I could do, again, whatever the melody asks for. So you can definitely go like that, double note. And we're going to work our way down. So okay, so that sounds kind of cool. Maybe you can go like, you can even lose. Again, the rhythm that you decide changes it completely, guys. So you got to keep that in mind. And then if you want to make it more swingy, then we can also add a little bit of swing. Let's give it. Again, just the same old notes. We can. And then I'll play some melodies out for you guys to end the video. All right, guys, so it turns out I'm not that good at playing swingy kind of melodies on the MIDI keyboard. But again, you can always rework a melody if you make it sound too on beat to make it sound swingy with maybe the groove pull or just shifting notes so that they don't land on the offbeat and the kick. With that being said, guys, I hope that you found this video helpful with all these different kind of melodies. Hopefully it inspires you. You know, when I make melodies, a lot of times I don't think about this stuff like the symmetry of the melody, what notes I'm playing. I just go with the vibe. But if I'm very uninspired and I can't work out a melody, then I'll try my best to kind of use these things to help me come up with something so that I can work on a song. With that being said, guys, hopefully you found this video helpful and you guys have a great rest of your day.